This is the disturbing true story of Fred and Rose Westone, of the most shocking serial killer couples in British history. From the outside, 25 Cromwell Street in Gloucester seemed like any other ordinary home. But behind closed doors, it became a house of horrors, where unspeakable crimes were committed for over 2 decades. Fred West was born in 1941 into a deeply troubled family. He suffered physical abuse as a child and sustained a serious head injury as a teenager that some experts believe may have contributed to his violent tendencies. He had already been involved in the death of a young woman before he met Rose. Rose West, born in 1953, had a similarly abusive upbringing. She met Fred when she was just 15 years old. Despite their age difference, they quickly formed a relationship that would spiral into one of the darkest criminal partnerships in history. By the early 1970s, Fred and Rose had started luring young women into their home. Some were hitchhikers, others were tenants, a few were even family members. Fred and Rose would abuse, torture, and eventually kill these women. The victims were often dismembered, and their remains were buried in the cellar or under the patio of their home. One of their first known victims was Fred's stepdaughter, Charmaine, from a previous relationship. She was killed by Rose while Fred was in prison. Rose's capacity for violence was as strong as Fred's, if not worse. In total, at least 12 young women and girls were murdered between 1967 and 1987. Among the victims was their own daughter, Heather. For years, Heather's disappearance was explained away with lies. But when suspicions grew and police searched the property in 1994, they discovered her remains buried under the garden patio. This triggered a full-scale investigation. Police excavated the entire property and uncovered multiple bodies. The grisly discoveries revealed a horrific pattern of abuse, rape, and murder that had gone undetected for far too long. Fred was arrested and charged with multiple counts of murder. But before he could stand trial, he died by suicide in prison on New Year's Day, 1995. Rose West stood trial later that year. She showed no remorse. Despite attempts to shift blame solely onto Fred, the evidence was overwhelming. She was found guilty of 10 murders and sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. What makes this case particularly chilling is not just the brutality of the crimes, but how long it took for them to be discovered. Neighbors, social workers, and even police missed warning signs for years. Several of the West's own children tried to speak up, but were silenced or ignored. The case led to widespread criticism of child protection services and law enforcement. It also sparked changes in how abuse reports are handled in the UK. To this day, the true number of Fred and Rose West's victims may never be known. Some believe there are more bodies that were never found. Others wonder how such evil could remain hidden in plain sight for so long. What's certain is that the crimes of Fred and Rose West left an enduring scar on British society. The house at 25 Cromwell Street was demolished in 1996. But the horrors that occurred there will never be forgotten. This was not just the story of 2 killers. It's the story of lives stolen, of victims who never got to speak, and of justice delayed but not denied. If stories like this matter to you, please consider subscribing for more true crime stories that remember the victims and the lessons these tragedies leave behind.